You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
All righty, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and joined as always by your co-host, Kevin. Kevin, how we doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. Gobble, gobble. We're about to wobble into playoffs here right now. So, week 13 is in the books. Thank God. I did not have a very good week or week 12, excuse me.
Yeah.
I did not have a very good week 12. It was not holistically my strongest week of the season. Just didn't have the horses in a lot of the matchups, but that's all right. It's been a long season overall. It's been more good than bad, but time to lock in. 2 more weeks until the playoffs set for the home league. I think most leagues are kind of run the same way anymore. So we're plugged in, but we got 3 games, 3 on Thursday, and then we have a Friday night game too. So there is going to be a lot of fantasy knowledge gained, right, with what you need for the Sunday and Monday slate based off of what we see Thursday and Friday. So overall, like I said, overall I'm good, man. Just getting ready to keep grinding this out, hit the waiver wire this week.
Absolutely, and it's going to be an interesting waiver wire, to say the least, right? My debacle at quarterback continues in the home league, so it'll be another yet interesting waiver wire to see how this one plays out. But never thought that I never really thought we'd have the conversation where Teddy Bridgewater might be in play for a waiver wire pickup in deeper super flex type of leagues, or that I can't even think of his name, the kid from Minnesota.
Oh, Ganson, good, yeah, whatever.
Exactly. The never thought that would be a thought that would enter into the conversation that, hey, maybe we'd be looking at the
Rosemer.
That's
Max
it.
Rosemer.
Yep. Never thought we'd mention Max Brosmer when we started the season as any sort of thing, but if you're quarterback needy, with JJ McCarthy entering the concussion protocol, there's a chance that Brosmer might get the start here in week 13. So very interesting to say the least, right? Some other big time deals out there, right? With Alvin Kamara going down, right? Devin Neal potentially being a guy that a lot of folks. I have a feeling we're going to get some talk around Devin Neal and what that fab might look like and all of that. So I'm sure we'll probably explore that one. But any news notes that you want to hit up here before we start kind of diving into the chat?
Big focus tomorrow around the injury report. Couple keynote players, right? George Pickens, limited today. Monday, the Cowboys said he would have been a DNP, calf issue. So that's big with the Cowboys going up against the Chiefs. So keep an eye on that. Same thing with Josh Jacobs, right? Like Josh Jacobs was looking like he was going to try and play this past weekend. They got him through warmups, decided he wasn't quite ready. The anticipation was they decided, you know what, we're going to sit him here on Sunday because we need him on Thursday against the Lions. So yeah, potentially you get Josh Jacobs back, but something that you definitely need to pay attention to. Isaiah Pacheco will be back for the Chiefs. It's a hit to Kareem Hunt, right? Like it's not necessarily wheels up for Isaiah Pacheco. It's more of a hit to Kareem Hunt. So we'll see kind of how that plays out. Joe Burrow is expected to play Thursday against the Ravens. So Jamar Chase comes back from injury. T. Higgins has already been listed as out in the concussion protocol. Yep. So little news, right? Little bit of a shakeup, but I think those are the big ones, right? We expect Aaron Rodgers to play Sunday, for the Steelers. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that. Obviously, this Brosmer deal with Minnesota. Who else? Marion Hampton, his window has opened to return. So potentially some relief. Haven't really heard just yet. My guess is we'll hear more about that Wednesday and Thursday. So I would tell you, unless you are absolutely beyond desperate, I wouldn't play a Marion Hampton this week. I'd wait to see what the reports look like and then maybe fire him up for week 14 and going into the playoffs. So,
okay. CJ Stroud may return, right?
Yep, Stroud may return.
Which is interesting, right? Because Houston's put together several wins in a row with Davis Mills under center.
Yeah, they have. They've really rallied around Davis Mills, and I'm not necessarily convinced that he's played better than CJ Stroud. But I do think that Houston's kind of waking up here a little bit. Like, this defense is legit. Like, Houston and Denver seemingly have the clear top two defenses in the NFL. So, we kind of made fun of the game that Houston and Denver played earlier this year, but maybe there was more to that, right? With just defenses dominating and kind of carrying the water for those teams. And we've seen it work throughout a season before, right? Where the defense just gets so hot that it just carries the offense. They just have to make the right play and don't turn the ball over, right? And every possession with a kick, right? And it's an old adage. It seems a little cliche, but really success for Denver and for Houston both is that if you can end every possession with a kick, you're going to be in the game late. And it's worked for Denver. It's been a little bit hit and miss for Houston, but still they blitzed the Bills, man. I mean, I understand that was Thursday night's game and we barely touched on it Friday, but man, they just blitzed the Bills, literally blitzed them.
Right. Yeah, certainly some interesting things you're playing out there. Trying to think of any other injury reports that are kind of popping up and things to keep an eye on. Right. There were some reports kind of early on that Jaden Daniels, is, and he had some fiery words coming about that if he's healthy, he's going to play again this year. Whether or not that's in week 13 or week 14 has yet to be seen. All right, we touched on the Baker injury, right? That's something to keep an eye on here as well. Any other kind of news notes, anything like that you're kind of seeing pop through?
I think the Baker thing that you just briefly touched on, right? That was one we didn't really touch earlier, was a sprained AC joint in his non-throwing shoulder. The expectation is Teddy Bridgewater is going to play this week. So just news and notes, obviously. People be mindful if you're looking for quarterbacks. Someone who's maybe not getting as much of talk is Teddy Bridgewater. So might be another option that, especially in super flex leagues, you can kind of slide that one in because he hasn't gotten a whole lot of buzz just yet with them having the Monday night game. So you could probably see more about that starting tomorrow with how their schedule is going to break down. So you could possibly be ahead of that.
Right. Now, the other thing too, if Teddy Bridgewater's the go in Tampa Bay, that's pretty much puts a downgrade on any other fantasy option in Tampa Bay for me as well. Right. Like there's a lot.
Bucky Irving. Speaking of Tampa Bay, I'm gonna pivot on you and then circle back around to what you're saying. Right.
Okay.
There's a lot of speculation that Bucky Irving could be back. There's been a lot of weird stuff about Bucky this year. And kind of the rumblings coming out of Tampa Bay. So I don't know. Like, I hope he comes back. Believe me, for my home league team, I desperately need Bucky Irving to come back and kind of carry the water for Tampa Bay here for a week or two and let Baker get healthy. Maybe him and Sean Tucker can kind of go through that. So we might see Bucky back this week as well, which against Arizona, it'd be a good matchup for him to kind of get back into things. And even if he's only, 60% of his normal workload or 70% of his normal workload and kind of let him ease back in for a week before you take the reins off. For some folks, your running back rooms are so depleted, you need all the help you can get.
Right. So yeah, no, it's just kind of one of those that it's very interesting to see how that one's going to play out there, and that is something that gives me a lot of hesitation heading in here to week 13 with some of those fantasy options in Tampa Bay if Bridgewater is your guy or is the guy this week.
He's more on schedule, right? And you and I had a conversation about this the other day.
Yes, we did.
Bridgewater's going to be a little bit more on schedule, right? So it might help with some of the short and intermediate passing game, right? Like the deep ball has not been as prevalent for the Buccaneers since Mike Evans went down. Obviously, Godwin coming back, I think, helps. You still have Kate Otten there. And Puka, who I think a lot of the NFL just saw so much film on him because he was getting so open. It has kind of been wise, and they've been shading coverage over to him and really making life difficult. But as Chris Godwin continues to get healthy and at least be on the field, it should at least alleviate some pressure, right? It should take some of the focus away. And then obviously you have Tez Johnson, Sterling Shepard. So it's not that Bridgewater would be without weapons, but I think it's going to be a lot of 3-step drop, maybe some 5-step play action type stuff, right? Where if you can get the run game going, or at least the visual of a running game, see kind of how that works out. But Tampa Bay's, they've been struggling here a little bit. Rough part of their schedule for sure, but
right.
This week doesn't necessarily get a whole lot easier for them, I don't believe, if I'm looking at this correctly. Arizona, yes. So Arizona's a little bit easier. So maybe this is where they come up for air a little bit and try and get things right as they're trying to hold off the Panthers of all teams there in the NFC South.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I did read some reports out there that if Bridgewater is the guy, right, there's a lot of kind of speculation in Tampa Bay that they're going to have to drastically change the offense and what that looks like here for Bridgewater to be able to succeed, right? So, kind of an interesting deal because typically when you have your quarterback, you go out there and roster build that thing so your backup quarterback is able to flow and you're not having to drastically overhaul the offense. I did see some reports out of Tampa Bay that if that's the case, they are going to have to do quite a bit of overhaul this week and have a very different schematic, put into place for Bridgewater if he's the QB. So it's kind of an interesting thing at play there.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see it. And not that Baker's been bad holistically. The last couple of weeks have not been his greatest, but is it? I guess my question to Tampa Bay, would it be an overhaul or do you just reduce? Right? Is the overhaul is it addition by subtraction, right? You're going to scrap a third of your playbook. You're going to keep it simple, right? A lot of short and intermediate routes, quick outs, quick ins, slants, you throw the occasional sluggo or deep post, something in there just to kind of keep the safeties back if you can. And then you're feeding Chris Godwin over the middle. You're using him in combination with Kate Otten, right? Because they can kind of take up some of that same space. But if you can use that in combination, because you have Godwin presumably in the slot and then Otten there. So that means you have a nickel corner and a linebacker, seeing if you can get those guys confused. Buda Baker's always interesting, right? Because he's such a good safety, and he goes large part unnoticed a lot of the times in Arizona, but if he can sniff that out. So overhaul, I understand why they say overhaul, right? Kind of gets teams like, well, let's dig deep in the playbook and see this and that. I'm wondering if it's more like, let's go back to basics. Let's go back to training camp basics and see if we only use, half the route tree and we're not using long developing, deep overlooping routes and see what that looks like. Just get the guy in rhythm, right? A lot of button hooks, a lot of ins and slants, that type of thing, that everything's coming towards Teddy Bridgewater and trying to make life easy for him.
Fair enough. Yeah, certainly could be an interesting way to see that one play out there. So let's see here. Anything else we want to hit up here before we start diving into the chat?
Now let's jump in the chat here. See what the people have to say here this week.
All right. Jason over on YouTube, how much fab for Neal? Any other waivers I should target? Sampson, Rodriguez, Carter, Mechie, Dortch, Yoshi, DK. Even if I don't see myself starting any of them, just maybe to play keep away.
So I think for Neal, I would tell you that this late in the season, it's not a bad thing to overpay, right? Like you've saved up fab for things like this, and especially if you're hurting at running back. Not that I think Devin Neal's going to light the world on fire, but if he's going to be seeing so much of the volume, if he can stumble his way into 10 points for your flex position, that's not a bad situation to be in. So I think he's a guy that, you want to target out there, 10, $15. I mean, I don't know that, again, the Saints have not been lighting the world up on the ground. So it's not that I want to go out and overpay. I would not consider Devin Neal the league winner as we've seen in some players this year or in years past. I don't know that Devin Neal's that guy, but if you have a dead spot in your lineup and a guy that, you're not really seeing anything out of, then throw Devin Neal in because at least he's starting and you're getting that. Kind of the same thing for Chris Rodriguez. The Washington Commanders are not necessarily lighting the world on fire on the ground, but Chris Rodriguez right now is the guy. He's the lead back in Washington. So I think both of those guys are targets to play a little bit of keep away with. Carter, no. Sampson, Sampson had the long touchdown, right? It made his stats look a little inflated this past week with Shador at quarterback. I'm not necessarily reading a whole lot into that because it was against the Raiders.
Right.
I think I'd pass on Sampson. I'd pass on Carter. John Mechie's interesting. 2-week sample size. And I get it. He's kind of the lone pass catching option that they have as far as a wide receiver goes. So Mechie's interesting. Does it kind of pair up? Because if seemingly Tyrod's throwing the ball a little bit better than what we were seeing from Justin Fields. I don't know if you see Mechie and Garrett Wilson interacting in the same world, but again, for one more week, if you need help, Mechie's not a bad option to throw out there as far as a flex play. Greg Dortch, no. DK, no. I'm done with anything Titans. Yoshi, no. Again, you have Jamar Chase coming back. EOC, I'm assuming that's EOC. I guess that's who I'm thinking. It's Yoshi because it sounds like Yoshi Voss, right? Like that's what my assumption is. So,
Right.
I don't know that I'm going anything there. It just doesn't provide enough upside. So a couple options, between Neal, Sampson, and Mechie. If you're in a pinch this week, then you're going to be firing one of those guys up into your flex position. Again, you're shooting for 10 points, right? You don't want 6 or less. If you get 7 to 9, you're frustrated, but you can live with that. And if you can get 10 or more, you're, basically playing with house money. At least that's my thought on those guys for this week.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Right. Devin Neal's a guy that it's interesting to see what that'll shift to in New Orleans, right? When Kamara went out, Taysom Hill became the lead rusher for New Orleans. Neal did most of his work through the air, right, and through pass catching. So, there may be volume there on that, but I would, like you said, I would temper my expectations to the point where there's some flex play consideration, but it's a bit of a risky flex play because, again, like we've seen this in the past with New Orleans, the second that they get in the red zone, Taysom Hill's number gets called on that. Now, different regime in there, but still wouldn't surprise me if Kamara's not there. They get inside the 10 zone, the 5 zone, and they're going to call a running play, it's likely not going to be Devin Neal getting that ball, right? I think Devin Neal is going to be your pass catching running back, and may see maybe 10 carries a game and maybe about 5 targets. So there's certainly some volume there and certainly some flex play consideration, but I think it is not necessarily the slam dunk. So with that, I wouldn't mind spending anywhere in that 15 to maybe 20% of the fab to try and get that done, right? And with that being the case too, as we get down here to the end of it, you're looking kind of going in here week 13, week 14. I just want to make sure that I've got at least $5 to $10 left when I get to week 15, 16, 17 for the playoffs for my fab budget, so that if I absolutely have to have something, I can at least put a bid on it to try and make something happen there. So, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. So it's Ken over on YouTube saying, "Hey y'all, I'm 8-4. Would you trade away Javonte, Franklin, Bowers to get JT, Sutton, and Gadsden?" That's one.
I don't know. Maybe. JT's ceiling is obviously the greatest ceiling that you have. Bowers, if they're feeding Bowers, yes, it's better than Gadsden, but Gadsden's been seeing quite a few targets consistently, right? When he's been on the field and healthy there. So it's not as big of a drop off as one would have thought at the beginning of the season. Sutton's kind of where you get hurt. But if you're looking at the comparison between him and Franklin, it's not that bad. I think maybe I do this. If you're trying to make a splash at 8-4 and you need a difference maker, JT's going to be that guy. And I understand that his schedule down the stretch is pretty tough, but honestly, Javonte's isn't much easier, right? He has Kansas City this week. Then they have the game next Thursday against Detroit, which is a little bit better, but then they followed up with Minnesota and the LA Chargers for the first couple rounds of the playoffs before you go back to Washington for your championship game. So, I mean, I would tell you that the Cowboys' schedule is still predicated on what can they do through the air.
Right.
So, I don't think I hate this, and just understanding that, whether it's Sutton or Franklin, that's your weak spot. JT's better than Javonte, Bowers is better than Gadsden, but JT does have the upside, right? We've seen the 3 touchdown games, the 150 plus total yards, and the Colts need Jonathan Taylor to be productive. Like we for him to only get 16 touches and 4 touches in the second half against the Chiefs last week was criminal. And that's a large part in why the Colts went 3 and out their last 4 possessions and squandered away the game against the Kansas City Chiefs and end up losing that one. But I'll support it. I will. Like 8-4, you got a puncher's chance. I think with Jonathan Taylor in there, like you feel like you have a little bit more than a puncher's chance, and you can potentially make some noise.
Yeah. And Getson does have a little bit better schedule than Bowers does going down the stretch as well. And Ken actually follows that up with another question saying that the running backs are Kyron, Jacobs, Javonte, Wilson, Corum, Tootin, and the wide receivers are JSN, Lamb, Franklin, Watson, Godwin, Reed on IR. With that running back room and with that lineup, I would do that, right? Because now I've got really a 3-headed monster at running back between JT, Kyron, and Josh Jacobs going down the stretch. So running back 1, 2, and flex, you've got that taken care of. Sutton probably not gonna see your lineup, but neither's Franklin. So with JSN, Lamb at your wide receiver 1, 2, and I don't think you see enough of a drop off between Bowers and Gadsden, right? Bowers has an incredibly tough schedule to finish this thing off. Gadsden has a slightly better schedule coming down the stretch. So I think I'm probably leaning on the JT side of this one as well.
Yeah, I'm going with it.
They can say, are you worried about JT's upcoming schedule? Not enough to not do the deal.
Yeah, it's a challenging, right? Like no one's saying it's a cakewalk. Houston, Jacksonville, it's home against Houston, at Jacksonville, at Seattle, home against San Francisco, home against Jacksonville. Like, assuming that they split the games with the Jags, I think that there's I think that you split those, and maybe you end up splitting with Houston too. But realistically, I think it gives you the most chance. It gives you the biggest chance for success, right? Houston offensively isn't lighting the world on fire, so it means the run game should still be in play, basically the entire game. Like in most cases, unless things just completely go to hell in a handbasket, you're not going to be out of it. So kind of the same thing against Jacksonville, right? Like they're turnover prone. That team just is. Yes, they find ways to put it in the end zone, but they are turnover prone. So that means shorter fields, momentum, seeing if you can get Jonathan Taylor there. So I think you do it. I think you do it. You want the best player in the deal this season. Jonathan Taylor is the best player in that deal. It makes for an awesome three-headed monster at running back, like Derek pointed out. I'd say do it and ride with it.
Yeah. Elliot over on YouTube saying hello, Elliot. Bing Kings chiming in saying evening, fellas. Welcome back in, Bing Kings. Bing Kings is also wanting to build a Thanksgiving slate DFS lineup. We can certainly take a look at that here in a minute, but let's go ahead and take a look into to some of these other questions and comments coming in here before we get into that. Binking saying that they've got Godwin and Reed coming back on the best ball team on DraftKings. Not a bad deal there. We'll see how that plays out. Rosie saying hi over on YouTube. Binking's giving us the lineup of Dak, Love, Gibbs, James Cook, Amari and Hampton, Rice, J-Mo, and Buka, Godwin, Reed, Ferguson, Fryermuth. Also got Bateman, Hopkins, and Tesla, and Ray Davis. So not a bad best ball team. I'm sure you're kind of liking that one, saying that they're currently in first place on that one. So nice job. Let's see here. Epic over on YouTube asking, should I cut Otten or Barner? That's two.
I've got AJ Barner at this point. Especially if Bridgewater's going to go, I think Cade Otton's in play here, especially this week. So if you need to make a decision between the two of them, I would keep Cade Otton for this week, see how it goes, and let go of AJ Barner.
Yep, I would agree with that. Alrighty. Victoria over on YouTube asking if they're the only ones. Not quite sure what the question is, but nope, plenty of folks in through all the various channels right now. Ken saying, which Colts running back would be the handcuff for JT if needed?
Be a committee at best.
Yep.
And if the Colts lose Jonathan Taylor, it doesn't really matter.
Nope.
Like to put it kind of bluntly, if you really hold on, pull this up.
It's kind of the same thing, right? Like, and some of these guys that you can look at and go, oh, like, right, if JT goes down, they're gonna most likely do an RBBC, right? Like they're gonna go running back by committee on this thing. Same thing too, right? If Christian McCaffrey were to go down, right? Like there's not a singular player on that roster that's going to come in and immediately fill that role, right? Because where Christian McCaffrey is getting that job done is through both the air and the ground, and Brian Robinson Jr. is not known for his pass catching ability on that one. So while yes, he may take over some of that run duty, the passing work that's there, that's getting that job done, that allows him to stand out and be elite, just isn't there, right? And we can kind of go through the list on several of these other kind of top end running backs that, yes, you've got something to replace that, but you're not going to get that elite end production out of it. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, I mean, if you wanted a name, I'd tell you it's probably DJ Giddens, who's probably going to get the first crack at it. Amir Abdullah would go from just returning kicks. He'd probably be that veteran presence because he can catch a lot of passes out of the backfield. Tyler Goodson is interesting, but he's been inactive more than not this season. So I would be shocked if he went from being inactive to having such a predominant workload in that offense that he would be fantasy relevant, especially for the playoffs.
Fair enough. Binkings is saying that Sutton's due for touchdowns right now.
Disagree, but I don't know. Like
Bo Nix needs to figure out how to, I don't know, quarterback.
Yeah, and they just don't seem to come in bunches very well, and they're very content in running the ball, spreading it out, kind of doing whatever. It's not the Sean Payton offense with Michael Thomas.
Right. So, Niori over on Twitch is saying, "Good evening, boys. Just received a trade. They would get Achane and Justin Jefferson for JSN and Trevion. And the trade deadline is at tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time." What are your thoughts here?
I think I stay put with JSN and Trevion. Trevion's finally coming aboard, and so I think you're kind of catching him on the upswing. Jefferson with his third quarterback of the season, and we have no idea what this is going to offer for Jefferson. So there's a potential large downgrade from JSN to Jefferson. So I don't know that I do this deal. I think I sit tight with JSN and Trevion Henderson.
For a second, I thought when you said downgrade, we were going to be talking about the quarterback moving from the starter to the backup in Minnesota. I was going to say, can it get worse?
Yeah, I don't know that's a downgrade, but I just going into the playoffs, we shouldn't want uncertainty. And right now, the quarterback position in Minnesota is uncertainty. And I love Justin Jefferson. He is a cornerstone in my home league team, has been for years now. I am beyond frustrated right now with the Minnesota Vikings and the fact that they had Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones in the building last year and let them both walk out for the hot garbage that they've put under center this year. So they got to figure something out where this locker room is going to completely implode for the rest of the season. And Justin Jefferson's going to be, flex worthy at best.
Right. And that was one of those that we, coming into this year, we were talking like Justin Jefferson might be quarterback proof, right? Like there was a lot of that was kind of the sentiment that didn't matter who the quarterback was. Justin Jefferson was going to be able to get his, right? Also, coming into this season, I really thought that Kevin O'Connell's system was pretty plug and play. You could take just about anybody that could play the position at a semi, at an average level and look good in that system, right? Both of those have been wildly disproved by JJ McCarthy and his inability to play quarterback at the NFL level.
I think you hit it when you said average level.
Right.
Carson Wentz played at an average level, and it gave us hope. Right. We saw Addison show up a little bit, even with Aaron Jones going down. Right. We saw Mason, we saw Addison, we saw Jefferson. Like Hawkinson was the one guy who didn't quite hit, but I mean, hell, there was a couple weeks we were talking about Naylor as a flex play because he had a couple weeks that flashed there for Minnesota. And then once Wentz got hurt and they went back to McCarthy, it went downhill faster than a stinking roller coaster. And now we are left questioning everything about the Minnesota wide receiving room because of the quarterback play. Right now, there's really not a force on heaven or earth that you could get me to play Jordan Addison. I would play Greg Dortch over Jordan Addison. Like that's where we're at. Throw a dart at any one of the Packers receivers, I would play them over Jordan Addison right now. Any of them.
Right.
Like same thing with Buffalo. I would rather play Keon Coleman and hope that he starts over Jordan Addison right now. But it's that bad, right? It's a little tongue in cheek, but it is that bad. Like they have been downgraded so much because of the quarterback play because it hasn't been average. So I think you really nailed it. If you get average quarterback play, you're good. But when was it Nathan Pond? Like whoever, I mean, when you can get or not Pond, was it Mond, the kid from A&M?
Yes, Kellen Mond.
Kellen Mond. Yeah, when you can get him to figure it out and show that okay, just target Justin Jefferson. We'll figure this out. Like it's not pretty, but we can figure it out. If when he can figure this out, but your first round draft pick for a quarterback can't, when he had all last year to just sit in his wheelchair when he was getting fixed and learn the playbook and sit in these meeting rooms and then this entire season to try and be the guy and all the film study and everything else, and he still looks this bad. He's just not ready. Maybe one day he'll be a decent quarterback, right? Maybe he'll be the next Sam Darnold, where it just takes 3, 4, 5 years, and all of a sudden it clicks. But this is the gamble of taking a quarterback as a rookie and having to plug him in.
Right. Yeah, taking that just one step further, right? We had Joshua Dobbs a couple of years ago when Kirk Cousins went down. Got traded to Minnesota in like middle of the week type of thing. Showed up in the locker room, started for them that week, was still trying to figure out the names of the guys in the huddle with him. And oh, by the way, was having to ask those same guys, what is this play that they just called? Like they just called this play in. What's the read? What am I supposed to do with that? And these players are going and helping him through the huddle on what the progression of that is. And that looked better than what we've seen out of JJ McCarthy this year.
Yeah.
So yeah. Kind of a long way of saying would rather keep the JSN and the Travion side of it. Niori also chiming in saying that Travion has the easiest rest of schedule. I think I stay put. I would agree with that. And they're more certain with Travion than Justin Jefferson this year. Absolutely. Right.
I can agree with all of that. So, but, I know we spent a bit of time on this, but it sounds like everybody's pretty unanimous, right? Like
right.
It's a fair offer in some aspects, but when you take into consideration what you have to deal with and what the playoffs are going to look like for you, you're better off staying put.
Right. Let's see here. Bing King's saying that they've got Giddens on that best ball team. If JT goes down, that's awesome for the best ball team. I was the best ball team that he was talking about it earlier.
Yeah,
so,
right. Get those cheap points.
Exactly. Right. Frosty over on YouTube, Dart or Knicks 4-point touchdown, Odunze or Pittman?
I think I'm playing Knicks against Washington.
Yeah.
Dart's interesting, but coming back, right? Like still the concussion thing, like it's just a little iffy for me. So I'm just going to go with certainty. I'm going with Bo Nix coming off a bye week. They had a chance to really think about everything. It's a Sunday night football game, so national television. The players get amped up for that. So I would take Bo Nix over Jackson Dart this week. Roman Dunze or Michael Pittman. It should be Pittman. It should be, but Dunze is just he's there and then he's not there. Against Philly, though.
Pittman against Houston.
Crappy matchups.
This is
take
very
Dunze. Like take a Dunze, right? We just saw what George Pickens was able to do. The CeeDee Lamb did see a ton of targets. He just, for whatever reason, he did not catch the ball well against the Philadelphia Eagles this year. But I think this is a game where Philly's going to try and set the tone early and make a statement. So it's going to be putting, I think it's going to be putting the Bears in kind of a pass mode to try and keep up here a little bit. So Take a Dunze. I think both of them, the big plays, kind of out of the question this week, but a Dunze should be able to get free a little bit easier because he will step into the slot from time to time, and Pittman does not go in there at all.
Right. Yeah, between Odunze and Pittman, it is coin flip for me. 6 of one, half dozen of another. I think both of these guys, half point PPR scoring, you're talking right about 10 points on it. I think I like the Odunze matchup ever so, just, itty bitty bit more on that one. So I'd lean the Odunze side as well. It is incredibly close though between those two. I would also roll the Bo Nix side of things. Jackson Dart, yeah, he finds a way to just kind of get there for fantasy, but playing against New England is red hot. I don't know that game gets overly high scoring, and I don't know that we're going to see the Giants continue to put up points in bunches here. So I would lean the Bo Nix side as well. Ken saying that they're going to try and not involve the wide receivers in that JT trade. Franklin, Sutton, kind of 6 of one, half dozen another. Franklin's been targeted more than Sutton has recently, but I mean, I don't think it really matters one way or another if you're getting Franklin or Sutton and that aspect of it. So if it's going to kill the deal, I'd make the trade as is. So anyway, any other thoughts on that one?
Nope.
All right. Binking's saying keep JSN. JJ has no quarterback right now. Who knows? This could be an upgrade for Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, nothing would make me happier as if Max Brosman steps in and then all of a sudden Jefferson sees 13 targets, even if he only catches 8 of them. But if he can see 13 targets for 85 yards and a touchdown, like that's successful at this point. Get past the 50-yard mark and get him involved early and often.
Right. Binking's thinking that JSN is a top 5 pick next year.
I think so. I think we could see he's on track, right, to set the single season receiving record. Sorry, there's a lot of words there.
Right.
But yeah, listen, I'm not gonna lie. I did not see this coming. JSN was one of the guys I was fading during the draft. I did not think that defenses would have such a difficult time honing in on the one person that can torch him in the passing game. And kudos to the Seattle Seahawks because they continue to script it up. He continues to get loose, whether it's big plays, whether it's, shaking, catching it in space and making a guy miss and then getting upfield. Like JSN has blown the roof off. And I'm sad because I missed it so bad. But I think you're absolutely right. Like, there's no reason why we're not talking about JSN in that top 5 next year, right? Jamar Chase, Jefferson will be back up on there. We'll see JSN up there. I think we could possibly see, Rashee Rice, Neighbors. Like, we'll see some of these guys
Puka
pop back up on there.
Too.
Puka, yep, Puka, absolutely. And so,
especially if Stafford's back, right? Like, that's rinse and repeat.
So I can get behind that. I see it coming that way.
Right. Binking saying McCarthy never threw in college. Right.
That's right.
It's funny. We were talking about this one before the show and talking about how, right, McCarthy really didn't have to do much more than throw the ball 15 times a game. And they just pounded it out on the ground and held everybody down with the defense and won a national championship. But it was certainly very interesting, kind of all the talk coming out. You're going into that draft around that one as well. But anyway, we'll kind of move on there, unless you have some other thoughts around this one. Binking's asking, what kind of games does Josh Jacobs have tomorrow?
I mean, the Packers should want to keep this game slow. I mean, and the best way to do that is you just ride Jacobs so you could see him with, Thanksgiving Day game. They have the afternoons. No, they have the morning game. Yes, they have the morning game against the Lions on Fox, and then the Cowboys and Chiefs have the afternoon game, I believe. So, um, 22 total touches. If he can get over 100 yards, 120 yards, maybe. I mean, I know there's a big difference, but something like that and fall into the end zone, I think there's a chance. Right? The Lions realize the importance of this game, as do the Packers. So you lean in with what you're good at. And for both teams, it's going to be focused highly around the running backs. And then the Lions are going to sprinkle in a little bit more St. Brown than what the Packers do with any one of those receivers. But the Lions defense isn't very good right now, right? They're getting their points offensively, but the defense isn't very good. So Jacobs, if this knee contusion thing is done and over with, 22 touches. I mean, you could see upwards of 25 or 26 touches. If the game script really just dictates that, and the Packers are trying to play keep away, if they're consistently like a 7 to 10 point lead, and they're just trying to burn a bunch of clock, and they end up kicking a field goal or whatever just to kind of keep that game at arm's length, you could see Jacobs with a ton of touches.
Yeah, I think that he'll get there through the volume type of play. I think we'll see a top 15 kind of week finish for him. This one here, I think he probably tops out around the 14 or 15 fantasy points and a half-point PPR scoring. But I think that he'll give you a very safe floor in this game as well, and he'll certainly have a lot of opportunity here. So certainly the chance to break one and potentially get into the end zone as well. So
take the over 14.5.
Okay.
If we're putting a number to it, I'll take over 14.5.
All right. Well, there we go. Nino saying definitely could just sit nice with this current roster, but I want to fix my only hole. Roster is Dak, Bijan, JT, Achane, Benson, Sharbs, Rice, AJ Brown, Adunze, Pickens, Jacoby, and Schultz. What would you offer for McBride without killing my team? They mostly need a running back.
I don't know that you can get there without killing your team. Benson and Charbonnet combined, it isn't going to get you there.
No.
So that means you have to give up Bijan, JT, or Achane. And if that's the case, I'd rather just rotate through a tight end and just keep your three-headed monster at running back. Like going into the playoffs, again, you don't want uncertainty. You just don't. Right. And I understand that you would love to have a top flight tight end, but I mean, I think you're better off playing tight end roulette and just finding the right matchup week in and week out than giving up one of those three running backs.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Now, I don't know. You could try and throw something dirty out there and see how
Benson
much.
And AJ Brown.
That was what I was. Yep, that was what I was thinking on something dirty, right? Like one of those that Benson, right? You could sell that as, hey, this guy's coming off IR, will be the lone back in Arizona, so big dog work in there. And AJ Brown has the name value to it. Hasn't done anything for fantasy for your team this year, but you could try and throw something a little dirty out like that and see if it gets the job done. Shoot, even throw Schultz in there and see if you can get a 3-for-1 done. Right? Like, you could.
I mean, and maybe the game that he had against the Cowboys did just stuff, right? Like, oh, he's getting back involved in the offense. He's getting ready to go on a heater.
Right.
I mean, but
yeah, because
in reality, you're not playing him though, right? You're playing Rice and Pickens each week.
Right.
Maybe you flirt with Adunze, but AJ Brown's just too volatile. So that Benson AJ Brown might be the one thing that you could offer out. But I don't know that I'd go much more than that because I think it would gut your team.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not moving off of Rice, Adunze, or Pickens. Not moving off of Bijan, JT, or Achane. Right, like just no desire there. You're better off streaming the position at tight end over making a deal that involves any of those guys. So, any other thoughts on this one? Binking saying JMO 0 Sunday. Thoughts on that? I feel like less film save him for Thursday division game.
Possible. The thing, I mean, the Packers got a pass rush, right?
Mhm.
And so traditionally, JMO does most of his work down the field, but that means you have to have time. Um, so it's going to be a lot of setting up the run. I think, St. Brown is going to be busy with a lot of the underneath stuff, especially with no Sam Laporta. So uh, I don't think he's going to get a zero if that's the total question. But I also don't know that JMO is going to have a big enough game on Thursday to warrant a flex position that you feel comfortable with, or a flex equivalent, right? Because basically, if he's playing Thursday, you have to put him in your wide receiver position. You're bound. You want to be bound to that, so you keep flexibility as a flex role. But I don't know that I'm sold on that.
Right. Yeah, I think you'll put up more than zero, but I'm not feeling overly great about sticking him in a roster unless I have to. Binkin saying also Jacobs saved him for this game this week versus the Lions.
That I agree with. I
Okay.
think Jacob's going to have a big game. JMO, I'm not nearly as confident on.
Binkin saying that Odunze is due. Maybe. Very well could be.
Yeah, I mean, it was there, then it wasn't there, then it kind of poked back up, and he's kind of, I say middling, right? Like he's a wide receiver too,
Mhm.
right? Like he's a wide receiver too, and runs the gamut, right? Like he can get up to 13, he can be down at 24, has a really good week, and all of a sudden you can see him shoot up into wide receiver one territory. But for what he is and what this offense is, I think wide receiver two is kind of where you can expect Roma Dunze.
I like it. Jordan over on YouTube saying, "Sup, good old boys." Not much, Jordan. You know how we do it on a Tuesday. Binking saying that Pickens is 7K, CD is 6,900 on DraftKings with cost more. Interesting.
Yeah. They finally caught on.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy, but I think if you're going one this week against the Chiefs, I think McDuffie's going to be right. McDuffie's going to be on CD Lamb. This one's going to be tough. I mean, I don't know. I think you take the gamble on CD, call it good, but he's due, right? CD Lamb at this point is due. And not that Pickens can't have a solid game, but if I'm going to pick one of those two guys to have a bigger game on Thanksgiving, I'm going to take CD Lamb this week.
All righty. Binkin saying that JSN's the most drafted wide receiver across all platforms. Took me 2.5 months to land on him during the summer, but smashed him everywhere. Good
There
for
you
you.
go. Yeah, that's making the world of difference for you, man.
All right. Jordan saying that they had the chance to keep JSN after his rookie year, but kept Rice instead.
I would have made the same call.
Right.
Right, the way the Seahawks were set up with Lockett and DK, JSN, yes, he flashed, right? Like he did flash, but I didn't see this coming. So I would have been right there with you, man.
Binking's asking Chase Brown or Derrick Henry Thursday.
Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Give me the matchup
Cincinnati?
against the worst defense. Yeah, give me the matchup against the worst defense. I think Derrick Henry probably has a higher upside for a touchdown. Chase Brown might see some more receiving work to kind of balance out the points. But when it's all said and done with, I just can't not play players who are going against Dallas or Cincinnati right now.
Yeah, I would agree. Jordan asking, better watching football in Eastern or Pacific time zones?
Central. Split the difference.
There you go.
Problem with the East Coast is East Coast is good because you can get all your stuff done in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But to stay up for the end of the Sunday night or Monday night game, even Thursday night, stay up for those late night games. It is a late night, right? And if you're getting up and going to work, it's a problem. You have the inverse on Pacific time zone, right? Like sometimes setting your roster in the morning, like you got to set it really the night before. So
Mm-hmm.
Pacific time zone, you can get pinched by the game time decisions and especially the London games and
Right.
everything else. It creates, a struggle, but you comfortably get to watch all these primetime games at night. Game ends, it's,
8 o'clock.
eight, 9 o'clock, and you can, doom scroll on your phone for another, hour if you want to before it's even thinking about time for bed. So I, I've I was in Mountain, right? I was in Colorado. I moved to Texas earlier this year, so I kind of switched back and forth. I actually really like this Central time zone, like for watching football. Like it allows me to get my stuff done in the morning. I'm not pushing it, whether I'm going to church Sunday morning with the family or have some errands that need to get done or whatever, and then get to watch kind of throughout the day. So I really kind of dig the Central time zone for watching football.
There you go. Yeah, it's very much what you're talking about on the Eastern time zone, right? Like you get even the London games, the international games, right? Like those those now kick off of what typically is the kind of the mountain time zone on what those typically kick off, right? Like the but to that point, right? You hear all the time that any of the time that the late games go, especially college football, where folks try and tune into the late side of things and the West Coast side of things, and games get done at 2 a.m. Like that's no thanks. So I'm kind of with you. I'd rather be in the mountain or the central, to be honest with you. So our answer, Jordan, is 2 time zones that you didn't even mention. But there you go. Any other thoughts on this one? All right. Binkin saying Keaton Mitchell, I want to play so bad Thursday. He had a TD called back last week with Lamar being hampered and highest sack rate. Mitchell is going to pop that long TD run eventually this season.
Yeah. I mean, Derrick Henry does not have much explosiveness, right? And so Keaton Mitchell's really been able to provide some of that pop. His biggest downfall is it's been his health, right? He hasn't been available. But I don't disagree. Like I do think it's only a matter of time before he gets one of these long ones off. This week against Cincinnati is just as likely as anything else, if not more so, just because of how the defense has been played. And Trey Hendrickson is not going again. So, man, the Bengals, they have to be pounding. Like, this is why we didn't want to pay you. This is why we didn't want to pay you. They have to be pounding their chest about that. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, Mitchell's sneaky, especially in like random. If you could do a multi lineup, like I definitely wouldn't plug him in a season long, but if you're doing multi lineup entries, sneaking him in one or two, especially for the a Thanksgiving Day slate, eh, gotta get value somewhere, and he's a guy who could provide it.
Right. Big King saying Achan for Pickens, they'd move Achan.
Yeah, I think so. I think I would rather have Pickens than Achan rest of the season.
Okay. JMO's and then saying JMO's been running a lot more cutting routes and not as far downfield. Yeah. Yep, for the most part. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, I just I've not watched as much Lions football this year as I have in years past for some reason, and just I've been disappointed with their usage of JMO, right? And I thought that maybe he'd be getting a bit more of it. We heard Dan Campbell talk about the fact that they wanted to get him more involved. They did the next week, and then they kind of regressed from that again. So I'm not sure what the deal is and why they're not able to get this JMO thing figured out, but it sure seems like a guy that if he doesn't re-sign with the Lions, some team's going to pick him up as a wide receiver too, and maybe use him in a slightly different way and probably be able to make some hay out of it.
Fair enough. Gabe over on YouTube, thoughts on Tank if Saquon's groin injury keeps him out?
I think it's I think it's something you got to fire up and really entertain, right?
Mhm.
Like there's I guess I'm not worried about Saquon. I do think he is going to play, but if for whatever reason it keeps him out, like your question is, I think Tank is running back 2 territory, so definitely a downgrade. But I think the volume and the opportunity of a team that likes to run the ball, and they're not afraid to run the ball, I think Tank's definitely going to have his opportunities.
Fair enough. I mean, to be honest, right now, I think Saquon Barkley is in running back 2 territory as is, right? Like he's kind of high end running back 2. The Eagles have not been able to run the ball really at all this year.
He's
They
been like
certainly
one tackle away, right? Like he
right,
just can't get that one tackle broken to get into the second level like he did so often last year.
right, and so right, like I think that's where you need to view Saquon as is. He's a high end running back 2 with pop potential week in week out, right? Like he has the ability to pop. We just haven't seen it happen. The Eagles have not run the ball nearly as well as they did last year, right? But they haven't run the ball great this year. So Tank instead of Saquon, I think you may have view Tank as very back end RB2, running back 3 type of territory. But if you had Saquon on your roster and he goes out, then yeah, you need to have Tank there to try and fill that spot and have something to roll out there. So anyway, any other thoughts on this one?
No, sir.
Big King's saying that flower to the moon. I'm thinking on Thursday, plant flag plant. So he's thinking Zay Flowers,
Zay,
big game.
yeah, Zay could absolutely have a monster game, right? This could be one of those, 8 catch games that Zay has, once or twice a year. I could see that.
Right. Jordan saying good answer. Haha. Back to our time zone question. I like it. Richard over on YouTube saying full point PPR, need a running back, Ramondre or Rashad White?
Ramondre
Yes. Full send on Ramondre.
against the Giants. You're not
Mhm.
dealing with a backup quarterback situation. Rashad White might be third fiddle. If Bucky's coming back, Rashad White might be moved to third fiddle just because Sean Tucker's been playing so well right now. So, give me Ramondre. At least you're only fighting with Travion, and you're not fighting with 2 other guys.
All right. Nino saying drop Burden or Algier for Devin Neal, or don't even want part of that Saints offense. Just no AK plus beautiful playoff schedule seemed tempting. I'd drop Burden for Neal in that scenario.
I think you could. I think you could drop Luther Burden. That's
Right.
what you want to do. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Right. I would hold on to Algier just because Algier does have some flex play consideration week in, week out, far more than I think Luther Burden does. So, any other thoughts on this one?
So.
Nino saying the pass protection just sucks for the Lion this year compared to the past few years. Plus, Johnny Moe loves screens on every third down.
Yeah, it's been great for Gibbs.
Right.
Right. I mean, there's only so many footballs to go around, and Gibbs is seeing such a great uptick and so productive this year. It's coming at the expense of other players.
Right. Gabe over on YouTube saying thanks, guys. I also have Gainwell and Warren. Should I consider starting both? Ooh.
I don't love that
At all. That's in the almost hard pass territory, but it depends on what else you got.
And it's intriguing because Buffalo's terrible against the run.
It's true.
Like that is why it's intriguing. I don't love it, but I can get behind it because of what their matchup is. So if you have nothing better, yes, you could do far worse. You could do far worse. If you have anything that you're considering that would be more considered as a coin flip, I would play Warren and then coin flip between Gainwell and the other player you're looking at.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. Right. Like you have Tony Pollard, your other option. Sure. I'll play both. Right. Like, who else would I put in there? Vidal if I'm going between Vidal and those, I'd play both, right? Like there's some of those kind of things, but never a fan of kind of really tying a singular position on my fantasy roster to a team and hoping that both of them manage to get that done. So Big King saying that they lost connection for a few minutes and curious if we want to do a DK lineup.
Let me see what I'm doing here.
We can certainly take a look at that here real quick. So DK lineups. Let's get that pulled up here. And real quick, while we're getting that pulled up, Gabe chimed in saying that they have Jacob, Saquon, Hunt, and Chubbs. Going back to the Gainwell and Warren. No, I'd be playing Jacob, Saquon, then Warren.
Yeah, that right there.
Yeah. So, alrighty, there we go. Problem solved there, Gabe. Alrighty, so DraftKings looking at the old Thursday type of slate here.
So if we have Zay, right? So I agree. Like, let's go Zay Flowers, right? So plug him in right away. Let's go Josh Jacobs. Let's go. Got to pick a quarterback out of all these things. So we probably don't want Burrow Lamar. It's going to blow it. Same thing with Mahomes. Is it Love? Do we go Jordan Love so we save money at quarterback?
Binkin's asking to
Let's take turns.
Let's take turns. Okay. Well, we're going off of some of your selections here already. Alrighty. So how do we want to do this then? So Thursday main is wanting to throw Mahomes in there. While we're waiting on that, Nino saying, which Chiefs running back would you rather have rest of season?
Kareem Hunt.
Agreed.
It's not even close.
Agreed. So there we go. Alrighty. So what's our lineup so far here? I was busy trying to get this thing to load up here.
I don't know. Ben King said chill out. So
okay. Alrighty. Oh, Binkin, tell us who the quarterback is, and we'll start there.
all right, so he's going Rice. That's what he wants to go with.
Okay, Rice on the cube, or Rice on the running, or the wide receiver. All right, Kevin, who do you want?
Go.
You going who?
Josh Jacobs.
Okay. Josh Jacobs. I'm going to entertain Binkin's request for Mahomes in there, and we'll just put that in there. Then I'm going to actually make a selection here. Got a little woof on some of that. Oh, what do I want to do here? You know what? I'm going to take Derrick Henry as the other running back. All right, Binkin, you're up. So roster so far: Mahomes, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, and Rashee Rice. Same. Plug in a defense. What's the defense you want? I'm half tempted. I'm half tempted to go with Kansas City type of route there. Baltimore probably has the interesting deal there, but
I say, what's the price difference between Green Bay, Kansas City, and Baltimore?
Baltimore's 46, Kansas City's 42, and Green Bay's 4,000.
Kansas City.
Okay. Binkin saying that they want Flowers in there, so we'll put Flowers in there as well. Oh, sorry. Who did you say defense Kansas City?
Yeah.
All right. So we still need a wide receiver, tight end, and a flex. Do you have any other thoughts here on a wide receiver?
Christian Watson.
Okay. Big playability. I like it.
Yeah. Let's see if we can save a little bit. That allows us to maybe do some things with tight end.
Right. While doing that, we're going to have to do something because we got $2,400 to spend on a flex right here. So we may have to downgrade the defense there, but see if we can save some money with the let's just go with the Bengals. They're Baltimore's
Or if
had
you
some
switch
offensive
off
struggles.
Mahomes, or not Mahomes, you could switch off of Henry and go with Mitchell. Like what we're talking about. Save the money at running back, and then you could go you go maybe Ferguson with Kelsey if we want to run 2 tight ends.
Okay. We can certainly give that a shot. Yeah, switching off to Henry, that leaves us 7,600 looking for the flex, which basically Chase Brown on down is who we can look at there. And from what I'm hearing, sounds like we want to go another tight end here.
It's just something that King said he likes to run 2 tight end lineups. So that's the only reason I tossed it out there.
Okay. And with Ferguson, Andrews wouldn't be another a bad selection there if we're running 2 tight ends.
Yeah, I could go either. I could do Andrews.
All right. I mean, both are in play. Would you feel better about Ferguson or there we go? Binkin St. Andrews. We'll just go with that there. Okay, so the lineup is Mahomes, Josh Jacobs, Keon Mitchell, Rashee Rice, Dave Flowers, Christian Watson, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, and the Bengals defense. There we
got
go.
a lot of Ravens to run that Bengals defense out there, but we'll see how it goes.
Right? That's very true. So that's all right. We'll see how that one comes up to play, and I'm sure Binkins will let us know how we did here on the Friday show. But we did have one other question come in here. We're going to hit this one up, and I think this might be the last one of the night. How are you over on YouTube? Give up Juwan Jennings and Travion Henderson for Justin Jefferson. I have Maine, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, AJ Brown, CD Lamb, Rashee Rice, Juwan Jennings, Travis Kelce. Benches Hendy, Pierce, Purdy, Tootin, McLaurin, and Pitts.
I don't think I do it. I think Juwan Jennings with Brock Purdy is better than
Justin Jefferson with JJ
just
McCarthy.
with JJ McCarthy or the unknown at quarterback. Like,
Right.
it sounds crazy just off the name value, but if you're, but when you kind of peel the onion back a little bit, I think it makes more sense to keep Jennings and Henderson.
Right.
Again, Derrick Henry's not been lighting the world on fire. And if you, really don't like the matchup or like what you've been getting out of Henry, Henderson provides some nice pop.
Right. So, yeah, I would agree with that. Justin Jefferson is, you're talking wide receiver 19, and most of that production came with Carson Wentz in the 6 games that he was there.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. So who knows? Maybe Bosemer sets the world on fire as the backup QB coming in to save the day. But I don't put much stock into that, and certainly don't put any stock into JJ McCarthy coming back on that one. So I would hold pat. I wouldn't do that deal. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, I would agree. I'd hold pat. Ayuk doesn't sound like Ayuk's coming back. Ricky Parasol has not been overly useful here the last couple weeks coming back from his injury. So yeah, Juwan Jennings, it is. I can't believe I'm taking him over Justin Jefferson.
It sounds dirty. Sounds dirty.
Really dirty. Sounds really dirty.
Alrighty. And Big King saying, LOL, thanks guys. We could have just picked one each, but good luck, y'all, and chat. Yep. Alrighty. And how are you? Saying thank you. Most welcome on that one. Binkin saying we can change that lineup around if you want to tweak it or get a strong hunch on a player. Okay. Yeah. We'll see how that one goes, and we'll check in again on it on Friday there, Binkins, and hopefully we did well with it. But alrighty, that I think is going to take us down here to the end of it. Any final thoughts out there for the viewers and listeners?
Oh, good luck. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy whether it's the traditional or non-traditional meal, but enjoy the time with the friends and family. Be safe if you're drinking a couple adult soda pops, but football. So we got quite a few days strung together here of it between Thursday and Monday. So lots of entertainment for your viewing pleasure.
Absolutely. And that is going to do it for us tonight. He's Kevin. I am Derek. Make sure you tune in on Friday, right? We'll be back for the Bet Set Snap underneath the Friday night, fantasy football Friday night lights. There we go. That was tough. But again, happy Turkey Day to everybody, and happy holiday here, and hope that y'all are have a good one and are safe about it. Jordan also chiming in saying, thanks guys. Good luck. And Binkin saying, all right, good stuff. Enjoy the Thanksgiving and good luck. Good old boys in chat. Let's crush it this week. Absolutely.
Good.
Let's go get it. You can find us on all those socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Good Old Boys FF. Be sure to hit that like, that subscribe button, follow button wherever you're listening to this and consuming this podcast. Certainly helps out. But appreciate everybody tuning in and chiming in. That's going to do it for us tonight. Have a good one. Be safe. Toodaloo.